Hello everyone, my name is ZCRGator and welcome to my real quick reaction of the Pokemon Presents presentation. Now if you don't know, every single year on Pokemon's anniversary, which by the way, happy 28th birthday to you Pokemon franchise, but every single year on their anniversary, February 27th, they always drop a Pokemon Present video, which is basically a Nintendo Direct but for Pokemon. And in said presentation, they normally drop news about a new Pokemon series, or new mainline games, or just add-ons to continue to their mobile app games like Masters EX, or Poke Cafe, or Pokemon Sleep. And that's basically kind of what we got in today's presentation. So going into today's presentation, I always try my hardest to go in blind because I try to stay off the internet when it comes to Pokemon news around this time of the year, because I want to be pleasantly surprised with what they end up announcing. And I will say, on a real sad note, my hope for this year was that they weren't actually going to announce a mainline game, because I was hoping they would announce like a spin-off game. And instead they would take as much time as they could possibly take to create a mainline game, to create a good mainline game. Because I will say, I do really enjoy the past couple of games that have come out, but you could definitely tell if they just spent another year or a year and a half or 2 years on them, they would be awesome games. Like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I love those games. I think they are awesome. But they were definitely buggy messes, there were technical difficulties, there was stuff that would kind of break the game a little bit. And even though I really love Generation 9, you could just tell it just needed another year and a half, maybe 2 years to polish it and to really make it a good game. I think it could have been one of the best in the entire series if they had just spent a year and a half more working on them. I genuinely do. I think Scarlet and Violet were awesome games. Unfortunately, they just came out a little too early, and I still like them. I still like them a lot, but that was kind of my main hope going into today's presentation, is that we wouldn't even announce a new mainline game, because we are working behind the scenes and we are working hard to create an awesome new game. And if they were to announce a new mainline series game, my hope was for Legends Kyurem, because I want to know what the original dragon looks like. I want to know what the original Kyurem looked like with the fusion of Reshiram, Zekrom, Kyurem. So going into today's presentation, my whole thought process was, even though I try to stay off the internet, I basically assumed we were either getting a Let's Go Johto or a remake for Gen 5, and I was really hoping we wouldn't get a BDSP type of Gen 5 remake. And my tiny hope was well, if they do announce a new mainline game, I'm hoping for Legends Kyurem. I think that would be really fun. And throughout the entire present, they showed off a whole bunch of stuff for Pokemon Sleep, Pokemon Cafe Remix, or Pokemon Unite, some anime-related stuff, Pokemon Go stuff, and a lot of what they were showing off were a lot of Johto Pokemon. They showed off Entei, Raikou, Suicune. They showed off a couple of the unknowns, and I was like, oh, so we are definitely getting a Let's Go Wooper, Let's Go Pichu, or something like that. And we get hit with the final presentation where the guy's like, I hope you enjoy. This is the final video of the presentation. And, my full expectation was, all right, cool, let's go Johto. It'll be fine. It is what it is. And they open it up. It looks a little old-timey. I'm like, maybe Legends Kyurem. Maybe it's Legends Kyurem. And then they pan out, and they kind of pan to a whole bunch of infrastructure kind of being drawn in. A Pikachu's running through. Digitalized kind of is what I could kind of describe it as. Pikachu's running through, and all of a sudden he runs by a Pyroar. And then he runs by a Furfrou. I'm like, wait a second, those aren't Generation 5 Pokemon and or Gen 2 Pokemon. That's Gen 6. That's X and Y. That's a Kalos. And then they pan out and they show Lumio City. They show the big tower. And I'm like, well, what's going on here? And then they hit us with Pokemon Legends Z. And I said, oh my goodness, this is not at all what I was expecting. I feel absolutely opie-doped, bamboozled. You absolutely swerved my expectations. All these Johto Pokemon were just a red herring, because you had Pokemon Legends Z, and I cannot be any more excited. I am incredibly excited for Pokemon Legends Z. I think this was the absolute right move. They showed off the little Mega Evolution symbol, which has me extremely hyped. They showed off, I think it's supposed to come out in 2025, and it said simultaneous releases, which almost makes me feel like, now it's not, nothing is confirmed, but it makes me speculate maybe it's coming out with the Switch 2 console. And if it launches with the Switch 2, you know it's going to be a good game, because the Switch 2 has to have, I shouldn't say has to have, but it should most definitely have really good games that come out on launch date, because I think when the original Switch came out, I think Odyssey and Breath of the Wild were launch games or launch titles. And those are unbelievably awesome games. I love those games so much. So I'm hoping that if Pokemon Legends Z actually releases with the Switch too, that they're going to be incredible titles. It also gives me a lot of hope that it's at 2025. So that means they're actually going to take time to really work on these and make them as good as possible. And I'm also really hoping that when it does come out, it's in the latter half of 2025 too, so they could take as long as they need to make these games absolutely amazing. Because when Legends Arceus came out, I was, to say the least, I was a little disappointed with Pokemon BDSP. I was like, man, this isn't how I was hoping Generation 4 would be remade, because Generation 4 is my favorite gen in the entire series. Pokemon Platinum is like my favorite game in the entire franchise. Legends Arceus I thought was awesome. I loved Legends Arceus so much. It's one of my favorites. So I was excited because I thought we'd get a new Legends game down the line. Obviously Legends Kyurem was the one that I was expecting to happen. And that was kind of the one that I told myself I'd be the most hyped for until they dropped this one, because I really like the Kalos region. Pokemon X and Y was my reintroduction into the Pokemon franchise. I did play Pokemon Black and White growing up. I don't know why. I didn't really enjoy them as much growing up, which is kind of a shame, because I went back and played those games again, and they are some of my favorite in the franchise. Pokemon Black and White and Black 2, White 2 are awesome, and I mean really awesome games. Some of the absolute best content, some of the best games that the Pokemon franchise has created, but I just didn't appreciate them as much when I was a little smaller, when I was a little kid. Whereas X and Y, the jump to 3D I thought was kind of cool. I thought it was kind of sick. And it was Mega Evolution that really sold me, because I was like, oh my god, we got a new form of Blastoise, we're getting a new form of like Venusaur, Charizard. I thought the Garchomp Mega Evolution is an unbelievably cool design. Unfortunately, he's not as good as normal Garchomp is, but the design is unbelievably sick. Mega Aggron, I was extremely excited, just because a whole bunch of new Pokemon can not only be reimagined and rejuvenated, but they also get a new and stronger form, and that was just so cool to me. I love the concept of Mega Evolutions, and the fact that we are getting not only the reintroduction of Mega Evolutions, we're getting them back to the franchise, which is so cool, because that means we're probably getting new Mega Evolutions, which is so exciting. But not only are we getting that, but we are also getting it in the Legends Arceus style of game. We're getting the Pokemon Legends Z, which is just, oh, I'm so excited, because X and Y are some of my favorites in the entire franchise, which I feel like I've said that a little too much. But I really love Pokemon X and Y, because they brought me back to the franchise. This is probably my favorite gaming franchise in all of just anything. And X and Y brought me back to it. It introduced me to a lot of the Pokemon community. I guess I should more say the Pokemon like kind of YouTube sphere, and it introduced me to a lot of the content creators that I like to watch nowadays, and a lot of new content creators as well. But it's kind of, X and Y is what made me fall back in love with Pokemon, and the fact that we're finally getting a Pokemon Z, which I think X and Y desperately needed a Pokemon Z, because X and Y are great games. It's just, you could tell that they needed an Emerald, they needed a Platinum. They needed to be kind of polished off. I mean, polished off. They definitely needed a little bit more to the story. They needed a little bit more cohesion. It was missing a little bit, an element that could have elevated it to greater heights. And I'm really hoping that Pokemon Legends Z ends up being that missing element, because it's been, when we got ORAS, which actually that came to a complete surprise to me. I didn't realize the ORAS games came out until 5 months after they actually come out, which I was a little shocked and a little disappointed with myself, because I really like Generation 3 as well. And ORAS were awesome. I loved the remakes. I was fully expecting Pokemon Z to arrive after ORAS, and that was not the case. Instead, we went straight to the Alola region, and we got Sun and Moon. And Sun and Moon are good games. I like Sun and Moon. But I was like, man, I really thought we were getting a Pokemon Z, and I thought it was going to be really fun. And then, you know, we've always had the speculations that maybe we'll get a Pokemon Z, or maybe we'll do something with the Kalos region later on. And I just assumed that would never happen. I assumed that we'd get a Pokemon Z when Gen 6 had their remakes. And Gen 6 remakes, I assumed were like way down the line, like 2029, 2030 type of deal. I was like, all right, we'll get Gen 6 remakes when Generation 10 comes out. And Generation 10 will have to be out for at least 2 years, and then we'll get Gen 6 and all that stuff. And the timeline for that would have been like 2028 to 2020 or 2030 or something like that. So it was like way down the line. So Generation 6 was absolutely nowhere on my mind. There's like maybe a person or two that speculated, what if we're getting a Legend Z? And I was like, there's no way we're getting a Legend Z. And well, I gotta eat my words, because we got a Legend Z, and I am unbelievably excited. I think this is the correct, I shouldn't say correct move, because I don't think there is a correct move, but I really like this. I really like this new mainline game. I like the direction we are heading into. So with that being said, I guess that'll probably wrap up my quick reaction, then it'll be more like a 10-minute reaction. But with that being said, if you ended up enjoying today's video, this quick little reaction video, please feel free to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I do a lot of Pokemon content. I do basically, most of the videos on this channel is just tier list videos, and a lot of them happen to be Pokemon tier list videos just because I like the franchise so much. So if you enjoy that type of content, subscribe to the channel. It really help your boy out. We're on the road to 100 subscribers. And comment down below, what are your thoughts on the new announcement on Pokemon Legends Z? Are you excited? Are you disappointed? Let me know and why. I'd love to hear. With that being said, I hope you have an absolutely phenomenal day, phenomenal rest of your week, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye-bye.